Glad you made it back, everybody. The Chris Salcedo Show. You know, since 2019, a pro-abortion amendment to the Kansas Constitution made it impossible to regulate abortion at any level, right up until the time of birth. The slaughter of babies in the womb increased in that state by a shocking 25%. With the fall of Roe v. Wade, there is a new opportunity to protect life in Kansas. The Value Them Both Amendment restores the Kansas Constitution, and it's on the ballot next week. Joining me now, His Excellency, Kansas City Archbishop Joseph Naumann. Your Grace, it is great to see you again. You know, you've said that this amendment is more than just a Catholic or religious issue. Why should all people, not just people of faith, support this?
Well, it's fundamentally a human rights issue. And it's we know that killing children, and the way Pope Francis kind of frames it, it's never right to kill a child to solve a problem. And he'll also say it's never right to hire someone to kill a child to solve a problem. But this is something that you don't need religious faith to know. Our religion helps us be aware of this, but just through human reason. And so this is a human rights issue that every Kansan, every American ought to be concerned about.
Well, Your Grace, as a practicing Catholic, I've noticed that in some segments in our church, from the laity to the leadership, the public advocacy for the sin of abortion is not only tolerated, but actually supported in some areas. I believe the faith is inspired by God, so it can survive, I believe, anything that man can dish out. But are you as concerned as I am about the survivability of Christ's church on earth when such an underpinning of the church, the sanctity of human life, isn't universal?
Yeah, I mean, it's very troubling to see sometimes leaders within the church kind of soft pedal, and we see this in a way of fearing to challenge those in public life, particularly Catholics that hold this position. And I think pastorally, we have a responsibility, I have a responsibility as a bishop to inform people when they're involved with grave evil. And this is concerning when that doesn't happen. And it's not pastoral to let somebody remain in evil without addressing it and at least offering them the opportunity to change.
And Your Excellency, I only have about 30 seconds left with you. I just wanted to ask, a lot of the other faiths around the world and around the country look to the Catholic Church that has been stalwart up until now on the issue of life. Do you think it's important that the Church retake that ground of being unapologetically for life?
Yeah, and we are. I mean, the bishops of the United States a couple of years ago re-emphasized that we consider this the most important, the preeminent issue in terms of human rights in our culture and society. And so, yes, the church has been clear, and I think we can be proud of what the church has done in the United States the past 50 years.
His Excellency, Archbishop Joseph Naumann, sir, we always appreciate the time and the visits you give us here on the Chris Salcedo Show. I want to bring in another man working tirelessly to promote the Value Them Both Amendment, Newsmax contributor, National Director of Priests for Life, Father Frank Pavone. Father, it is always a pleasure to talk with you. Take us through some of the provisions in the amendment and how it will be a powerful tool to protect taxpayers from funding this crazy thing called abortion on demand.
Yeah, Chris, thank you for covering this. This is an opportunity for Kansans to protect their own constitution and their own rights as citizens to determine what happens on abortion. The amendment says two simple things. Number one, there's no right to abortion in the Kansas Constitution. And nobody ever thought there was until a few years ago when the pro-abortion forces were fighting against that dismemberment ban that then Governor Brownback signed. I was standing right next to him for one of the signing ceremonies. There was never a right to abortion in the Kansas Constitution. All of a sudden, it came out of thin air. So this is a chance for Kansans to correct that. And then number two, like you just referenced, that there is no obligation of the state to fund abortion. Now, this has been policy right from the Supreme Court, right right from the beginning, shortly after Roe v. Wade, people were asking, well, if the state can allow abortion, must the state fund it? And the answer was no, consistently from the Supreme Court. There does not have to be funding of abortion. So if that's the policy on the federal level, why should Kansas regard it differently and force its citizens, even pro-life citizens, to fund the killing of babies?
Right. And of course, we all know that Joe Biden, who is, in my opinion, a fake Catholic, he's on record saying that he wants to get rid of the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits federal monies from going to the promotion of abortion. Recently, Pope Francis, Father, and the hierarchy in Rome made sure that Nancy Pelosi received Holy Communion despite her using the Catholic faith in justification for the sin of abortion and despite being denied communion from the bishop in her home state. For 2,000 years, the Catholic Church has set the standard for being unapologetically pro-life. With the moves being made by the papacy and the politicking going on in the Vatican, is that teaching authority at risk in your view?
It's at risk in the view of many people, number one, who are making sacrifices every day to live their faith. And then they see people like Biden, Pelosi, and many others throwing that faith out the window, but then they still want the political benefit of being known as a Catholic. So it discourages people. And then, of course, and Pope Francis, of course, is rightly concerned, as am I, all of us who are priests, about people who are sort of on the fringes of the church, and they want to know whether they're welcome or not. They are welcome, but the fact is that many on the fringes are also getting confused, and they're asking, is the church serious about this abortion issue or not? And if so, they're just thinking in a common sense way, well, then those who are promoting abortion, it's not just that Biden and Pelosi believe in it, they're promoting it. Shouldn't they be disciplined? And just ordinary people are asking these questions. So it certainly affects them and their view of church leadership.
Yeah, I can't. Sometimes I wonder what world, Father, I woke up in when we have to question whether or not the Catholic Church has a commitment to life. It's absolute craziness. Father Frank Pavone, it's always a pleasure talking with you, sir. Come back again soon.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. I want to tell you about the Patriot Gold Group, but first, let me tell you that the S&P has already lost $8.2 trillion in 2022. Did you know that? Peak inflation is not even hit despite the Fed rate hikes on groceries, on gas. You know it as well as I do. Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs are warning of another 20% drop. Inflation is winning in a knockout right now. The Fed is going to raise rates again at the end of July. Meanwhile, Goldman, Wells Fargo, and Bloomberg are all forecasting gold to surpass all-time highs. If you want to invest in gold, call 888-936-2373 now. Call the Patriot Gold Group today and ask about their no-fee-for-life IRA. Sounds like a good deal, don't it? Here's the number, 888-936-2373, 888-936-2373 for the Patriot Gold Group.